And we're live. Hi, everybody. Hi. Hello. 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 Hello, as usual. My name is Artem, and welcome to my weekly broadcast on topics of spirituality, enlightenment, and other related things. So, I am a spiritual teacher. I have a website. If you're here for the first time, I have a website. It's called www.truefreedom.net. So you can check it out. I'm also active on Quora and on Facebook. And these broadcasts are put on YouTube and Facebook. So please, if you have any questions, if you're on your own spiritual path, if you need support or you think that you could benefit from some guidance, please come. We have this broadcast weekly, and hopefully, when COVID recedes a little bit, then I will also resume doing live satsangs. So currently, this is a continuation of a kind of a questions and answers series. So I don't have hi Paul. So Paul sends a heart. So that's nice. So so yeah, this is a continuation of a kind of my questions and answers series where I just answer questions from the audience or look at the backlog of questions which I have on my chat platform. But if you would like me to speak on specific topics, please make your suggestions. We can have discussions on specific topics, including if you want to share or have a discussion on a specific topic with me or with other members of the audience, please just make suggestions as to what we should make those gatherings about next time. So for now we have a couple of visitors, and I will start right away without further ado. Meghana is here with us. Hi, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Hi, Meghana.
Hi. It's correct. It's Meghna actually, but it's okay.
Yes, please. I haven't heard you because I was on mute. Can you tell me? Can you tell me again what your name?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
It's so nice to meet you, and
Nice to meet you
I'm
too.
Meghna. Yeah.
Meghana. Okay.
Yeah.
Meghana.
However, it feels
Okay.
comfortable. It's fine.
No, that's fine. Meghana. Very nice. Very
Yeah.
interesting name. You're from India.
Yep.
Cool.
It's
Awesome.
11:30 here at night.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining us in such late hour. Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome.
uh, yeah, thank you so much. And it's not really late for me because I've been up nowadays contemplating a lot.
Ah,
So,
okay.
yeah. Even otherwise, I'm a night owl. But off late, I had, built a certain routine for myself. And now even that is fucked
Yeah, I
up.
used to be a night owl too, actually.
Uh-huh.
I used to be a night owl too.
Uh-huh. Okay. So what happens here? This is my first time.
Whatever you want. Like if you'd like to discuss something with me, if you like to share something with me, or if you'd like to ask me a question, or if you'd like me to speak about something, or if you'd just like to listen, that's okay. I'm basically just taking questions from people who are on the spiritual path, and I try to give them some advice that worked for me, to give them some guidance which I think that I needed to hear back when I was in similar places and or I was struggling with similar issues. That's kind of what's going on, and to the extent to which I'm effective, I don't know. So only people can know. So so
Uh,
yeah, that's it.
I did have a lot of questions for you.
Mhm.
But right now, all that I can express
God.
is I'm very confused.
And that's
Very
okay.
confused.
That's all right. Yeah, that happens. Sometimes that's
And
totally okay. Yeah.
I kind of feel gullible. It's like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, he's right too. No, she's right too.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yes. It's okay to be confused, and it's okay not to know. It's actually one of the most beautiful things of the whole experience, the whole journey, is that it's okay to be confused. It's okay not to know.
Thank you.
It's a kind to try to predict or not to know what's going on in other people's heads. And yes, and everyone is right to themselves in some ways. Even if they're wrong and deluded, they still believe that that's right in some ways. So we all, however wrong we are, we all think that we're right to ourselves. That's always been like that.
When I look back, after reading all this, after being in this group and everything, all the chats, when I look back at in my life, there had been such incidents, situations, some people who kind of gave me the hints of this spiritual path, which I kind of like ignored back then. I'm like, what is he saying? Maybe maybe it means something to him. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
When I look back now, they all make sense to me.
Hmm.
uh, now, because I'm going through that, I kind
Yes.
of understand what they told me back then, and
Yes.
now I feel, oh, I was so naive.
Yes, it's actually I actually had a very similar experience. Actually, the whole culture is saturated with those hints. It's not just people. You can see them everywhere. It's just that in the egoic state, you just don't see them. So, I mean, the funny thing is that just as falsehoods penetrate the culture, and just like the culture is saturated with lies, the culture is also saturated with hints. It's just that, yeah, those are sometimes those are far and few in between, but they are present. So it's not that you don't actually. One of the reasons I'm telling you this is that you don't actually even need to often a specific teacher or a master or somebody. If you're attentive enough, anyone can tell you something. You're like, oh, that's actually very true. And this person doesn't have to be some spiritually attained or some it's almost like every one of us knows all of this in some level, but but only uh, I mean and each and every one of us has some moments of clarity. Each and every one of us has some truth that we learned from our mistakes and from our tears and from our own difficult experiences. It's just that it's very rare that it is kind of more or less developed and in a lot of areas. But almost every single person has some gems to share. So if you're attentive enough with regards to your current experience, with regards to how it affects you, you know, then you can learn from anybody.
Yes. Uh, Now I can think of one question. Uh, so I come from India.
Hmm?
Looking like according to history, whatever it is, this is a land of such spiritual gurus, and
Yes,
people have always they've written books about it even before
yes.
anybody else could even know it or understand
Hmm.
it. Like, it was such a place. What happened to us? What is this? What happened? Like,
It's being the tradition sometimes bear very little resemblance to truth. So a place of very rich spiritual tradition doesn't necessarily mean a very spiritual place. It doesn't mean a truthful place. So because what because for the ego, for us humans, the tradition is becomes a mean to itself, and we just mindlessly reiterate traditions and rituals, and or it gives us some comfort, it gives us some feeling of belonging, whatever. So yes, I mean, of course, a country with rich spiritual tradition will be culturally somewhat different. Like, for example, I know, and I'm sure that you will confirm it, that India, compared to, let's say, different cultures like Western cultures, have you guys tend to maintain deeper family ties, for example, more extended family ties, and I know that it's changing, but yes, I mean, of course, there are more spiritual rituals and symbolisms in India than, let's say, in other more secular countries. So of course, it's going to affect the countries, the culture. But with regards to the self awareness, with regards to truth, how truthful people are, how kind they are, how loving they are. This actually bears no uh, correlation to tradition. And in fact, oftentimes the most traditional societies are the cruelest, oftentimes, and because they are the most prescriptive, they are the most violent. Because tradition is
Because they are
also
trying too much to stick to the
yes,
tradition,
and
they
also
end up
tradition.
spoiling it in the first place.
Exactly right, because also tradition has the side effect of if you deviate from the tradition,
Fanaticism.
yeah, there's nothing something wrong with you, right? So, or it's an insult to tradition, or it's an insult to our way of life, or something like that, right? So, so truth is beyond all traditions. You see, it is so self-evident. Uh, it is so profound. It is so deep, and it's so accessible to all of us that traditions mostly play a role of offering an alternative kind of lifestyle that gives your mind and your ego something to do. Oh, I'm religious now, and that includes monks and priests and things like that, right? So laymen, they kind of combine, but those who get very deep into religiosity oftentimes never emerge out of it on the other side, and on the side of truth, because it itself, it's a big occupation for the ego, to explore and play with all the spirituality and ideas and fantasies and romanticism and and miracles and gods, and I mean, it's a very interesting game that you can play for years and years and years and years. So I think that so the fact that India is rich in tradition doesn't necessarily like mean that it's a spiritually advanced country. So unfortunately, right? So I get a lot of actually I have a lot of people from India, so I get a lot of interest from India, and I think it's partly due to how rich India is in spiritual traditions. But that by itself, that's you see, that's madness.
Also
That
how
makes
much
other
misguided. Also how
yes,
much misguided.
yes, it's extremely misguided. Yes, yes, yes. Unfortunately. Okay, well, thank you, Meghana,
Yes.
for this. I
Uh,
will thank you for sharing. It's okay not to have questions. It's okay to be confused. Let me have add someone else. Melly, would you like to turn your video on? Melly, hey there. Yes. Okay. Good. Hey, Melly. How's it going?
Hello. All good, all good. Well, not really, of course, good or bad, better or worse. Um, yeah, no, I didn't really have any question. I just came by to listen.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm happy that Megan, was that her name? I'm happy that she's by now. I'm happy that she got to talk to you, getting to know around the place. Uh, yeah, and I mean, I could think of a question maybe. Um, well, yeah, there's one thing. So I've been in a state of fearless authenticity before, and when I when I think about you, my mind makes up stories of envy, and my emotions also linked to whatever experiences I've had in the past where they couldn't find resolve or release. And that envy, um, it's more of an envy, not jealous, but a longing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always trying to reach out to you from that place to actually talk to you about the truth. and I'm always inner knowing exactly what you're understanding or not. Yeah, no need to describe. I don't know. The truth, I've tried to express it with many people in the past. When I can't stand by the truth, when I can't be, yeah, no need to describe it again, but when I can relay it truthfully, by reflecting upon it myself, because it's not easy to stand upon it when I have all these made up conditions that my mind brings up at the same time, and all these emotions to feel at the same time. The people that I've talked to about it in the past have always either gotten out of the scene, didn't want to be there, and made up whatever version of me in their mind that they did. And then others put their head down in whatever emotion they had to face to actually receive the relay. And this includes my parents, this includes teachers, this includes maybe, if I can call them, friends. This includes many people I've tried to reach throughout my childhood in general. And trying to recreate it is very hard. And depending on the day, how much courage and bravery I have to face it all and relate at the same time, talk about it at the same time. When I can't, it's very thin. Reality immediately changes around it. Like I could be talking to you, and if I try to relay it as I'm not in it, so to speak, our call may break up, my internet connection may break up. Anything can happen because I'm not saying it truthfully. I'm not being truthful. I'm just trying to say it logically, like trying to recite what I remember as descriptions and labels and all that. And that just breaks up immediately. And maybe the longing is for when I could actually speak with you truthfully. I don't know when it's going to happen, but then I also don't focus on it when it's going to happen because I don't know. It could be even now, but right now I probably can, but I'm finding excuses not to. But yeah, not today, I guess. Not really guessing. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna say yes or no. It's there. I can access it. I can say it. I'm just not gonna do it now. Yeah, I don't know. Whenever it'll come, it'll come. Or I mean, it's here always. Whenever I'll decide to, and I could decide at any moment. Yeah, today I don't feel like I have the courage to do it.
You mean
To embody and express.
to be in this place of fearful authenticity, which you mentioned, right?
Fearless authenticity.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Fearless authenticity. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. 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 I understand. I understand. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if you would expect me. I mean, thank you. First of all, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I I think it was it wasn't very easy for you to share that, and I really appreciate that. Yes, I mean, I don't know if you want me to comment on that in any way, but
There's no. I don't really expect anything from you. I know this is based on my own decision, and when I do decide that maybe you're around or maybe I'm in a call like this,
okay. So I want to bring your attention to something, to some very like small things. I mean, so so yes, I mean, you could say that ultimately it is your own decision, when those switches take place or not. But it's also it's take notice not to make it into blame.
Yeah,
So it's kind of, you're only miserable because you can't
yeah.
decide.
I've been focusing on integrating failure as my nature. Um, just the fact that if I wouldn't fail, I wouldn't be human.
Yes,
And be accepting of that and not blame myself when I can't make the decision. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. And also, you see, not making this decision is not a failure. Is not a failure on your part, because the it's like,
maybe I see lack of courage and bravery failure.
literally. Well, what I'm trying to point to is that you literally don't make this decision. It happens. You see, it's
Yeah, but
it
but
feels
I'm
like,
the one taking the leap. If I
well,
don't
well,
take the
well,
leap,
yes, but
then
that's from
it's
a
not
perspective of someone who already while you
okay.
haven't, you
Wait,
know,
has what?
has taken the leap.
Okay. Well, I have in
You
the
see?
past, but I then let go and
Right, right. So
yeah,
so so that's an
let
important
the
that's important.
distractions convince me that I shouldn't be.
So look, when you already take the leap, then you can look back and say, okay, well, I decided to take the leap, right? It was my decision. But when you know that you haven't, then this kind of, you, which you're referring to, which haven't taken the leap, cannot take it.
Mhm.
You see?
Well,
So
not unless I find the courage and bravery to actually take it.
no, no,
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
that's okay.
No, no. It's not like you have to find bravery or courage to actually take it. There's no action
Yeah, I
that
guess that's
that
not the
you
way to
that you
describe it.
take. You see, because
Okay.
you can summon up your courage, you can summon up and then do something, but that is not something that you do. So regardless of, so all of those, I have to summon up the courage, I have to summon up the courage, actually, amounts to, or can amount to, the self blame of, why don't you, why, like, you have to do something, you have to achieve something, you have to actively do something, and then you blame yourself. Hopefully
Yeah.
you don't as much, but there's the other
Like a
side.
progressive mindset of me being the wheel, me having to
Right.
turn it, and if I don't turn it, then I did
Yes.
something wrong.
Yes, because the other side of should is always blame, right? Because, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because if you say, I can make this decision, I can do it, it's only if I had summoned up enough courage.
That can be
Then,
related to my most prominent, if that's the word, archetype, which is the disciple. Um, Listening to my father and respecting the should and shouldn'ts. Um, those are the ways I've taught myself to navigate my own reality or reality. Um, that's the deepest programming that I have. Um, that's the one that I resist the most to let go. But I understand that it's me blaming myself because it's not in the act that it happens. It just happens. The moment will come, and it's not up to me how, because it's not me bringing it by my own actions. But as I said, uh, yeah, I'm not being able to fully accept it right now.
that's
It's something I'll have to work on more, maybe. I'll
that's
have to
okay.
experience life more and the
You
opportunity.
see,
I'll
okay, okay. Listen. You
Yeah,
see, even the, I'm not able to fully accept it right now, is
that's
a
judgment.
rationalization. Yes, it's
Yeah,
a rationalization. It's some form of logical explanation, which explains how your current experience, uh, is, how you lack in your current experience. You see,
yeah.
so even the
Victim
yearning, as you
mindset.
experience the yearning, right? So this yearning is just an experience. It is a sensational, emotional, whatever it is. It is an experience. in itself, and this
Yeah.
experience in itself is actually beautiful. And so the yearning itself also just needs to be explored and felt.
Yeah.
That's all that is required. It's not like that there is some,
Yeah,
so
but
the tendency of the
I'm
mind is to
aware of what's
find some.
required.
What's that?
I'm aware of what's required, which is just pure experience.
Yes, yes, yes. So the tendency of the mind is to find some way, some button, some
But I
sort
do
of.
struggle to, and I this is why I'm saying, like, I'm gonna live more, I'm gonna experience more, I'm gonna be able to be in the experience more, and then uh, whatever way it comes, it comes. But no need to think about the way, of course. Um, but I need to get more acclimated, so to speak, to purely experiencing instead of letting my mind um, um, decide for me.
Yeah,
Um,
you could put it like this. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yeah. So kind of. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to go back and forth. So it's we sort of, so you could look at it as kind of when you're in the mind kind of grabs your attention. You know that you're in the mind, right? So when you are in the state of fearless authenticity, right? You uh,
intuition
you
is all that there is.
what's that?
Everything is intuitive in a
Yeah,
fearless. Yeah,
yeah.
there's no need to.
It's a kind of a state of flow, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so you're kind of in a state of flow, and you're not in the mind, right? But have you noticed also that you feel much more?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. So you
All
feel
the
much more. You
senses
feel.
open up. Yeah,
Yes, so it's not like your attention is not as constricted in the mind stories, but woo, you open up.
yeah.
There's emotional. You open up to much more emotion. Yes, so that holds the key, to when, even if you as you feel that you constricted, your attention is constricted in the mind, and it's difficult, uh, kind of. But the key is
Right
still
now,
to
what I
feel,
do is to
try.
notice it, and by noticing, it creates a bigger space around it, and then through that space, I can notice more and open my senses more. I also have some tools which I use. I may see an object in front of me, and I breathe into that point and breathe out while trying to integrate more around it in the same focus that I had in that point, which expands my awareness.
Mhm,
I don't use that often enough, but yeah, most of what I use throughout the day is self acceptance and
mhm,
listening,
mhm,
um, and yeah, those two are my primary tools. And then noticing when I can't listen,
mhm.
um, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just more evolution to come. I can't say.
Yes, I think so. I haven't heard it. I don't see anything that you're doing wrong. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just a difficult
it's just
journey.
the
It's not.
blame. It's just the blame. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just the should and the shouldn't that I
Yes.
respect without needing to
What
respect.
you can also, like, one advice that you can also try, and I mean, if it doesn't work, don't do it, right? So always listen to yourself. Don't kind of elevate me. It's about your experience, not mine. But what you
No,
can also try.
I don't. I don't
Good,
elevate you.
beautiful. So what you can also try, again, based on my experiences, when let's say yearning, or
I contradicted myself. I said I don't elevate you, and then my mind grabbed my attention. It's like, no, you're gonna elevate it. You're gonna elevate him. You're gonna make him bigger than he is.
yeah,
I'm
I've
just
noticed
kidding.
that too, because you said that one of your primary kind of relationship struggles is you kind of this disciple archetype, and
Yeah,
so you probably do unconsciously.
latch onto that sometimes. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. But it's okay. I understood you. I understood you as I'm not doing it consciously. So at least deliberately. So you're trying not to do it.
that's also
Trying.
another thing I do struggle, which is accepting that someone understands me. Yeah, I've had it with my mother, and I had to explain it to her so that I don't tire her out of
I
explaining
see.
things she already understands. Yeah. Um,
That's okay. That's totally right. You don't tire me. At least that's how I understand you when you say that
like
you don't know
inside, I
that.
know you understand me, and I know you understand the entirety of my condition, and I know you see me even behind that.
I don't
Uh,
even know that, to be
yeah,
honest.
it's not a knowing it when you're in it, of course. It's like me reflecting back on when I was fearlessly authentic, and then
Yes, yes, yes. I
having
think
other.
I think that it's also partially a projection of yours
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it is you understand you and you
yeah,
know the entirety of your condition and you probably know everything that's going on. Yes, yes.
yeah.
So I wanted to just leave you with that maybe piece of advice. I don't know if it's gonna work, but let's say like when you deal with a difficult emotion, let's say you experience some yearning and you're lost in the mind and you notice when you lost in the mind, when you don't feel, you notice it, right? So at this moment you can try and deliberately place, like try to locate in your body or somewhere in your experience this sensation, this unpleasant sensation, yearning.
Like doing a body scan.
Yeah, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, like doing a body scan, right? But basically, uh, to find where is it that you experience this unpleasantness, and instead of basically just waiting for the mind to keep to spin and noticing when your attention comes back from the
yeah.
mind, instead of that, try to more actively put your attention onto into that discomfort.
I've been doing that, and um, I'm getting better at it. My current challenge is when I do find where it is in the body, and I just am aware of it. Sometimes I suppress it. Also, the mind will
Mm-hmm.
jump in and be like, "No," and I have to then just notice that and not get angry at myself, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
And it's
then
okay.
come back.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, and it's okay. And it's okay. Exactly. Be patient. Be patient with yourself. And it's okay. And then you come back and kind of slowly you open up slowly. Slowly. Look, my friend, I think that I don't see anything wrong with what you're doing. It is a process. It kind of it's a slow
yeah,
relaxation, expansion of awareness. Yes, there could be some like huge moments and explosions in it,
of
but
course.
still you can't predict them, you can't create them. You like there's
No,
pretty much.
they're completely new. Every moment is completely new.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I don't have any advice to give you.
No,
I think that you're doing
no,
everything.
this conversation was awesome. There's nothing else to it. It was great. Yeah,
Yeah, well, thank you for being so open and sharing your experience with other people. I'm
thank you
sure
too.
that some people can relate to what you're going through, certainly. So thank you, Melly, for joining.
Thank you to Artem.
Okay, so while I was talking with Melly, I have a bunch of questions in the comments, so we'll try to just address them. And if someone else wants to speak, please. I really enjoy kind of real life interactions. I think they're more useful. Okay, so Tom says, "What is true freedom? What is freedom? What is the human condition? What is freedom from the human condition, otherwise known as spiritual enlightenment? What do you and other spiritual teachers like Sadhguru and Osho say freedom is the highest value? Why? Why do we say that? Okay. What is truth? What is love? How are these things similar, related, or different? How do you distinguish between truth and falsehoods? How do I free myself from the human condition? There's a lot. I mean, this is like the jugular. I can speak about these topics for hours. There's just so many questions, and each of those questions, we can talk about in length. Like what is freedom? what is a human condition. I will thank you, Tom, for those questions. I'll try to address them very, very quickly, because uh, there's a lot, and in general, those kind of conversations, they don't really do much for you, because the practice is still experiential. So because uh, uh, the misery, the bondage, and the suffering of the human condition is in a way self-created. So it is in our experiential exploration of our internal experience that we can first acknowledge that we aren't free, and acknowledge that we're suffering and are miserable. I mean, for most people, we don't need to acknowledge that we're miserable. We kind of know. Uh, well, maybe not for most people, but for most people that come to spirituality, they kind of do. uh, and then acknowledge that there's deception going on, that there's falsehood. That usually happens later, and sort of look through all the comfortable lies that we are telling ourselves, or all the uncomfortable lies that we're telling ourselves, and to get to the bottom of it. Like, why are we miserable? Who is miserable? What's going on within us, and why there's so much restlessness and misery and malice and war and violence going on. So the answer is deep in every one of us. Some would say that the whole tragedy of humanity is the tragedy of identification, that we identify ourselves with this kind of small, non-existing entity which speaks in our head, blah 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 blah, and tells us what to do, and we think this is us. That's this constant voice and chatter, and is very obsessed with the future, very anxious of the future, very traumatized by the past, constantly rethinking, the things that happened in the past, constantly trying to project the future, insecure, scared of difficult emotional experience, and almost always chronically discontent. That's human conditions, and even people who are happy still suffer from it most of the time, because they can't sit still. They constantly need to occupy themselves. They're only happy if certain conditions are met. For example, so they're only happy if they're being nice to, if they have loved ones around them. For example, sometimes they can find it very difficult to be alone, or they need constant praise or whatever. So those traditional mainstream definitions of happiness are actually only limited, actually very, very limited, and not many people can achieve them. And even they are even absurd in some way, because, like, for example, if happiness is success, then by definition, some people must be unhappy, because success is what? Compared to what? Compared to other people. That's what success is. It's always compared to other people, because compared to you, you're always successful. Like, if you breathe, you're successful. what's the problem here? So the human condition is chronic discontent, and it runs very, very deep. The surprising part of the spiritual enlightenment process is to see how deep it runs. So we think we also deceive ourselves in how content and happy we are all the time, and that's why an average human is actually very insecure. So it's difficult to speak on any topic to an average human. So there are a lot of taboo topics in our society that makes people uncomfortable. Just talking about something make people uncomfortable. So that's a part of human condition, and that's also the bondage. Because just think about, if it's difficult for you to even talk about something, what does it say about how free you are in your actions, right? So the human condition is kind of characterized by the illusion of freedom, where in reality people are just mindlessly doing whatever it is that they usually told to do, or they taught to do, uh, and they try to avoid uh, kind of unpleasant experiences, and they do all they can to make sure that nothing unpleasant happens in the future, or that's kind of the idea, and then they constantly fail, and most people struggle with anger and depression or attachment issues or some other psychological issues. There are very, very few people who are psychologically sound and stable and will not be completely devastated by some personal event in their lives. Uh, so 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 the human condition is something that we pass from, in my opinion, from one generation to another by continuing the cycle of cruelty and abuse. So the cruelty and abuse stems from the human condition. So the human condition is a kind of manifestation of all of the suppressed expression, suppressed anger, sadness, suppressed reaction to being abused and mistreated since very early childhood, and so we kind of spend most of our lives trying to get away from the hurty, painful part of life, and trying to create a sort of ideal life for ourselves. But the reason that we do that is because we're hurting inside, and that's sort of the crux of the human condition. The freedom from this pain is also a freedom in perception, a freedom in thinking, a freedom in making your own choices, in doing good because you know what's good, because you want to do good, because it is for you, because it's coming from you, it's coming from your heart, and not what society told you is good, and you do it so that you get patted on the back, which oftentimes results in doing horrendous and terrible things while thinking that they're good. And if you look at all of the crimes, horrendous crimes against humanity that are evidence in our history, then if you look carefully, you will see that all those people were thinking that they're doing good. So that's the human condition, and the other part of it is freedom. And and to say what is freedom, well, freedom is basically being free to do whatever it is you please. It's an illusion, though, that in the dream state we are free to do whatever it is that we please, and we are afraid of it because we think, oh well, if everybody is free to do whatever it is that they please, then people will murder each other and things like that, and nobody would even stops to think, well, why? Why it's actually not a pleasant experience to engage in conflict and violence. It's exhausting. It's like the only reason that it is emotionally satisfying, and I'm speaking about all forms of revenge, and is because we are in pain, and we think that by inflicting the pain upon another person, our pain will soothe. And it's an illusion, and that's why all of the revenge and violence, that's why they all only, even for the people for whom it's satisfying, it's only satisfying for a short period of time. And then there's this, for example, the mad cycle of revenge in some honor cultures, in some southern cultures, where kind of the blood feuds between families, the kind of the family Romeo and Juliet kind of things. They are this kind of generational violence against each other. It's part of this endless loop. You see, so it's a part of the human condition, and so I I mean, I guess maybe I could talk about it some other time in more detail. But right now, I also want to address some other questions from the comments. But if you have something to add, or you like me to expand on something that Tom, please feel free to add a comment. Oh, how do I free? I didn't mention that. So how do I free myself from the human condition? So yeah, that's a difficult question. So basically, spirituality offers a bunch of methods that have a certain likelihood to help you free yourself from the human condition. And the problem with those methods is, the thing about the process of freeing yourself from the human condition is a difficult process. That's what most people don't understand, and that's why there are so few people who actually are undergoing this process, even though not as few. You can easily find them, but compared to the mainstream culture, very few. So uh, so the methods in spirituality. So there is self-inquiry, Ramana. Who am I? So you basically you try to figure out. You try to directly find that thing which suffers, and kind of or that thing that thinks, even this voice in your head that talks. So you try to find it directly in your experience, and it's very interesting because you won't be able to. So the self-inquiry method. Then there are meditation, which kind of which are all gained to expand your awareness to something beyond this constant talk and emotion, and the sort of beyond the mind, beyond what is happening in the mind. And when it happens, it feels like you literally jump out of the mind, and people start saying things like, "I'm not the body, I'm infinite consciousness," and things like that. And that's very valid experiences, and because this is how separated we are in the human condition. This is how deeply entrenched we are in the habit of constant thinking, emoting, analysis, thinking, emoting, analysis. So when we actually start feeling the way that we're supposed to feel, that it is interpreted often as, I'm not the body, even though all the bodily sensations are still there. But it is such a profound experience to really to expand our attention beyond the incessant chatter of the mind. So meditation as a method, and then there are also psychedelics is a method, but I would advise combining it with meditation. There is a spiritual autolysis by Jed McKenna, which is kind of a logical method. So it's in a logical inquiry method. So there's a bunch of methods to realize that you're not simply this thinking, chatting, emoting entity which you will never find, and those are just experiences that arise and fall in consciousness. So spirituality is basically something that focuses on those methods and tries to help you on this path. But the path is experiential, and the path is very much your own. So all the teachers and all the spirituality, they're supposed to point you into the exploration of your own experience and the exploration of your own suffering, and to finally, through exploring, accepting, experiencing, investigating, loving your suffering, to transcend your suffering and to arrive in a peaceful state when the suffering is no longer there. At least as your kind of day-to-day experience, you can't predict the future. So all of those methods and books and masters and stuff like that, they all point you towards yourself, because it's a very individual, personal exploration. It's a very individual, personal process. So that's roughly what it is. That's kind of roughly what I've been doing. That's roughly what all the teachers have been doing, and that's also why it's so confusing. Oftentimes, the spirituality, because there's no single answer for everybody, right? There's unique answer, unique struggles, and even though we all have similar struggles, but we express them differently. So that's also oftentimes the masters are like, they contradict each other. Well, you said this to this person and this to another person. Well, those were different people. So that's kind of roughly what I have to say about it. It's a great question, but it's such a all encompassing one then that we can talk about it for ages. Logan says, "Hey Artem, hey Logan. Was there any motivation to continue practice when you were in non-duality? Did non-duality still feel like it was it? Thank you. You have been a big help." Yes, it felt like it was it immediate initially, and so that's a good question. So there's certainly a point. I had a point where I had absolutely no interest in practice, and that's actually great. That was the realization of my freedom, because actually, for as long as you need to practice, you haven't yet realized your freedom, right? But the freedom back then wasn't complete. So I have seen. So since then, I had a I wouldn't call it motivation, but I had a call, a temptation, a deeper curiosity to see what else is there. What else am I missing? That there was some sense that there's more to this thing. So I think one of the teachers, I don't remember who it was, maybe it was Muji, who said that enlightenment is freedom from the ego, not freedom for the ego. So when I realized freedom for the ego, all of my motivation to practice was absolutely gone. But the call, the sort of yearning, the kind of there's still more. I wouldn't be able to explain it, right? Because once you find yourself, or it doesn't matter how you describe it. You can call it God, divine, love, whatever. So once you find it, you develop a certain relationship with it, and it constantly wants to move you deeper and to be more truthful. So my self-realization was so kind of abrupt and deep, and I didn't really fluctuate much. That kind of I initially I felt like I was completely free, and I absolutely didn't care about anything. But then I realized that it wasn't the case at all, and there was much more on the path, and there was also an incredible amount of compassion and anger for the people, for everybody, to sort of create this situation which I was a part of, and that also kind of worked out of my system much later. So kind of the initial honeymoon period can be very profound and and you may have no motivation to continue practice whatsoever, and that's good. Actually, I wouldn't say that you have to. So once you in non-duality, once you realize the non-existence of the ego, I wouldn't say that you have to practice, because at that point, everything that you do against your will, against your desires, will actually bring more suffering, right? So if you want to have fun, if you want to relax, if you want to enjoy, if you don't want to meditate, like the realization of freedom is the realization of a non also, by definition, is also of the practice being unnecessary, because what kind of freedom then it is, right? But the pool, it remains, right? And it remains, I think, for different people stop at different kind of points of this journey, and which actually isn't really important, because the end point of this journey is still to come back to normal life. So it's just a question of how much of the suffering you will experience in practice, like in meditation, or like me, because for me the event was so profound that basically for a couple of years I'd be just lying on my sofa crying, experiencing all sorts of emotions and reevaluating everything, like my life, the world, everything. So it's just a matter of, you can call it practice, because it's not what normal people do. So and I also meditated a lot, and I slept a lot, and I actually used some psychedelics also. So you can, if it's just a matter of how much of it you will go in those periods of practice, solitude, meditation, and how much of it you will experience throughout your daily life. But the end goal is still the same. It's not like to become enlightened and to dwell on the mountain, like no, it's ordinary. It's a completely ordinary life, and you come back to it sooner or later. It's just a matter of how much suffering will still be in you when you do, and kind of how much you will still experience over the rest of time. But the end goal of enlightenment isn't enlightenment. The end goal of enlightenment is happy, fulfilled, creative, beautiful life, devoid of unnecessary misery and suffering that we instill on ourselves and each other. So that's kind of what I can say about this. So if you don't feel motivated to practice, don't practice. You don't have to. So, we have a visitor. Hey. Hi, Corey. Let me add you. Hi, Corey. How's it going?
Hey, Artem. How you doing?
How are you?
I didn't know I was getting on right now, but
Really?
I didn't know it was popping on right this second. But it's perfect. So
yeah.
So
I only have 3 visitors right now. So in live, I have some comments, but live you have 3 people. So you're number 3. I instantly saw you.
I actually have spoke to you before, probably a few months ago. You and I got on a phone call, and you're great to speak to. And
thank you.
It's a wild journey, man. I'm gonna tell you.
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Yes. It's wild.
It's wild, and I've had a lot of different experiences in my life. The first one at 20 years old, I was sitting on my front steps and I disappeared into a black.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, didn't exist. Went to a black voided space and I can't even describe it, to be honestly.
Wow.
Yeah, just nothing. I didn't exist, nothing. And then I came back to myself and the realization of God, right? And then I actually had verbally, God spoke through me and said, all I want to do is help people. And I didn't do that consciously, and it felt like a death, and it was so overwhelming, because this understanding going from to me as a Corey, as a 20-year-old, to this kind of understanding. And that kind of plagued me for a while. And I kind of got sucked back into the world. And down the road, my suffering and pain and stuff came, full tilt on me. And then I started searching different paths to find out what's wrong, because the material world in one way failed me and helped me tremendously.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful gift. And so did my childhood wounds, which are now I realize are just incredible grace that I've gotten to get to the place where I am now. And I wouldn't say I'm totally free at all, and I went down the ayahuasca path and done a lot of work with the medicine like that. It has been extremely beneficial for me. And I've gotten to the point now where I've resigned from my traditional world of, a top medical sales representative, and have fully created, my home was like a monastery where I literally just did the work, felt my feelings, and, was scared to death at times, man. Honestly, I was crying on the floor because I'm so damn scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it hurts so much. Yes, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And recently what's kind of came to me too is, the world's problems and the atrocities on the planet have, I go through these phases where I feel it, man. And it's just, and
yeah,
it sucks,
Yes.
And it's like, a lot of my things, I'm like, how can I help? Some people talk about everything's perfect. It just is what it is. Everything's consciousness. It's all God. And then I come back, I'm like, yeah, it is. But if I could help, why not? And, I'm coming to the place now as like, what do I do with the rest of my life? And is there a mission? Is there a purpose? And for me, I was a abandoned, neglected child, so I see my kind of consciousness directing me into that sort of phase, is like, maybe I can be the mentor I never had, or and these sort of things. And the cool thing on the self-discovery process now is I've done the inner child work and all this other stuff to where I'm finally the person, and this could be just another deceiving concept, but I'm finally the person that I like. I love me, and it's really cool to be accepting yourself with all the shitty things, and then knowing I'm growing in self-discovery along the way. And something that kind of happened, that comes to me, I get these kind of insights, and something said to me today was everything's just completely made up, it's completely a concepts, constantly. And it's like I'm trying to, your ego wants to make you feel better or take you down, continuously. And I've been able to gain enough space between the two to where I just kind of really check in with myself all the time. What's going on here? Where's this coming out? Can I feel the feelings? And the ultimate thing is this kind of came to me as is it ultimately the ego will just fall away, like how I had that incredible moment when I was 20, like an act of God, so to speak, and the ego just completely dissolves. And I know it's extremely rare to have the freedom that you have, is complete and utter ultimate freedom. And I guess the question is that just something that happens over time, or?
Yes, I don't even know if I have it. You see, I don't think that if there's a place on the journey where you can say for sure that there's no conditioning left, that it's an absolute and ultimate freedom, that the ego is completely dissolved, then I certainly haven't hit it yet, because this would also be predicting the future in some way. Because this would also mean that, I can guarantee you that you won't feel, something that is coming from the ego. How can you know if something is unconscious until it's conscious? So I can go by is by looking at my experience and reporting back, and to say that I don't suffer in the situations that used to make me suffer before, and the situations that make other people suffer before. Or when I speak to other people, it's usually very comfortable and easy for me, and then they report that that was somewhat complicated for them. So that's kind of the only reason I know that it's rare, or that it's more or less complete, and things like that. And when I look at some of the things that some enlightened teachers say, some other teachers, then I can see that I used to say the same things, and I stopped saying them because I realized that they're also bullshit. So that's kind of my only measure, right? I, generally speaking, cannot predict. Maybe tomorrow there's be tremendous suffering. I don't know. So what I can know for sure is that it's going to be temporary, because nothing lasts forever. So I know that, right? And what I also know is I will try to do my best to accept it. I wouldn't have the chance. I mean, I wouldn't have. What chance would I have? It's either you accept it or you lose consciousness or die. I mean, that's very apparent to me, and that attitude, combined with practice and developing of those self-love that you mentioned, and I'm sure, by the way, you have noticed that it is your own development of your own self-love to yourself which allowed you to be kinder to other people also. So it is only this development, this attitude, the developing of the self-love and practicing, which got me to the point where I can say, looking at my kind of past year or months, I'm looking at some period of my time, that, hey, I haven't been suffering for all this time, and nothing can make me suffer, it looks like, and I can speak to anybody and I don't have a slightest discomfort. So that's observational, that's experiential also. So this whole journey is experiential, and where you are on it, or like how rare it is, or is it complete freedom, not complete freedom, that doesn't matter. The what matters is that every time that you become closer to yourself, every time that you explore some part of yourself which you previously recoiled from and rejected from, your life becomes richer, and the gifts that you can give to other people, like you said, that I'm thinking maybe I will mentor other young kids now that didn't have it, becomes, your gifts become greater, that you can give, and your satisfaction becomes greater. Freedom is not, oh, everything is great, consciousness, blah 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 blah. This is just words. Freedom is, if I want to help those kids and I want to give them what, if I want, that's what I want to do, and you go ahead and do it, that's freedom.
Yeah. You know what I'm noticing too is, like, the societal things we would deem success, doesn't make sense to me much anymore.
Of course, yes, because they're crazy. They don't make any sense. You can take it to grave. You can take your success. Like, what is success? It's just it's either some bunch of stuff which is going to turn to dust anyway, or it's a bunch of nice feelings about yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm asking, I asked myself, was like, well, I apparently exist, right? How I kind of understand it. And I'm not here just on accident. And I'm like, well, what from my heart, like, what can I do to be of service to myself and for other people? Number one, I'm doing the work on myself to heal and to be, more content and happy with my life. And in most places I am. I mean, it's pretty mind blowing where I've come from. And even though I'm super resilient, I'm like, man, there's like other deeper levels I keep discovering, then also loving people for exactly who they are right now.
Yeah.
Yes. In the freedom of saying they're doing the best they can, as I'm doing the best I can. Truly, I'm finding, being continually liberating myself of any doership or ownership or telling the universe or God how to run things.
Yes,
You know?
exactly. There's no goal, there's no purpose, there's no meaning. You're here to enjoy. And that includes enjoying your pain, enjoying your suffering, enjoying your struggles, because after every struggle, there's a new opening, there's a new understanding. And that means enjoying your helping other people if you want to, right? That doesn't mean necessarily doing nothing. The doership, it happens here. The doership is is accepting, is trying to own instead of enjoying. So again, it's like trying to own yourself and say, no, this is all me, this is me, that's very important, that's me. Who cares? This kind of who cares about things like purposes and plans, and I mean, not just all plans, but I mean like higher meaning and things like that. Your heart is opening up, and you move to do things for other people that is enjoyable, because helping other people is enjoyable. Giving those kids that something that you didn't have, I bet, if you're thinking about this, I bet that you will enjoy it. Will it be difficult? Will there be struggle? For sure. But you will enjoy it as well. You see, so we're afraid to enjoy the things that we think are really bad for us. But there's nothing, tears aren't bad for us. Having somebody insult you and get over it isn't bad for us. We just think it is, but it's not really. And so we learn to enjoy everything, all aspects of human experience, including what we consider to be really bad and unpleasant aspects, are actually thoroughly enjoyable. And that's the biggest lesson, I think, on the spiritual path.
Because I realized too, is like anything that could be heard is an image. It's a concept of how I've created it. If I created a crystallized image of who I am, and somebody said I'm not this way, I'm like, oh.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
So I always look at it. Oh, if I feel that feeling,
right,
I allow myself to feel the feeling first, and I go, oh, it's very interesting that my concept of me and how they portray me, I go, I don't know what's going on in their own consciousness or their life or anything. And I'm not trying to project onto there to make myself feel better. Like, oh, they're having a bad day. So that's, I just.
Right. Yes. Maybe that's what they genuinely think. Maybe they're not having a bad day. Maybe that's what they think 24 hours about you. But why do you have to suffer about it, right? So let's see what is being threatened here. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that's the continuation, the continuing movement to freedom and enjoyment. Because those are also the moments, those little chains that you have put up on yourself, right? And in the dissolution of those chains is just a feeling through and seeing there's really nothing really bad here. It's okay. I can easily take it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You said it too, is how deep these things go, especially childhood wounds.
Yes.
They're
really deep. Oh yeah.
Deeply into our psyche and our body. And I've had to confront the shadow, and it scared me to death. I mean, all that stuff came up, like unprocessed fear and trauma. And I mean, I thought I was going to lose my mind completely because it's that
same experience. Yep.
And that is a challenging place to go to for
it is.
It
is for everybody. Yes. That's why I think that that's why I would like to see more kind of spiritual teachers and more people. It is a challenging process. It is a very challenging thing to go through.
Well, Artem, what I'll tell you is, this is all I want to do, though, which is so
great. Let's do it then.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all I want to do is explore myself and like, so I mean, I currently don't even have a career right now. I'm in this place to where, what's next for Corey? And I've literally, honestly, surrendered over to the universe in this aspect of saying what wants to come through me, and that's where I'm at in my life. I sold my house, gave away mostly everything, and moved into an apartment in North Carolina when I lived in Florida, I'm literally starting over and just, I'm here, you know?
Well, that's your life. I mean, you're free to live it as you want. Like, I didn't do any of those things, but I still live in the same house, and all I did is basically started teaching. But everyone is free. You see, that's the beauty of it. You can do whatever you want with your life. You can do absolutely whatever you want with it. And even if that's your main interest right now, if that is what you want, I spent like maybe 2 or 3 years pretty much like locked in my house, like doing nothing but that. So I completely understand people that go through periods of years of this work. It's the most like tremendously beautiful work. It's the most rewarding work, and it's beautiful experience. So that's great. I'm very happy for you.
Well, day by day, just I'm doing it. So
wonderful. Well, thank you, Corey. Thank you very much for visiting. I would like to address some questions from the comments now before I wrap up. But it was a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you for visiting. Best of luck to you. It has been wonderful to meet you. Thank you, Corey.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, so let's see. Dex says, to some extent, is realization pre-decided by nature biology? To the same extent as everything is pre-decided by nature biology. So you can make the same kind of, it depends on your perspective. So yeah, if you're speaking from the perspective of the absolute, if you're speaking from the perspective of the world, the universe, nature, then yes, I mean, you don't control even when it's going to happen, if it's going to happen, you don't control anything. So you might as well sort of abandon this idea that you really control how things happen. So yes, it's to the same extent, for sure. It feels like that it's going to happen. It'll happen regardless of what one does. And if it isn't, then no effort can cause it. It's also this. It's one of those questions. So let me continue. For example, Ramana Maharishi, who had spontaneous mystical experience since childhood and just randomly awoke without any apparent effort, versus people who dedicate their lives without result. Yeah, so I think the question for questions like that is like with everything else. So they're both are kind of true, right? So it is true that if it's not gonna happen for like this particular person, that it doesn't matter, I guess, what this person does, but it's simply due to the fact that his psyche is going to kind of mislead this person and to make a kind of a project out of every path that this person, every method that this person will try to take. So yes, it is true that there probably are some such people. How likely you are to be one of those people? I don't think that it's very likely. I think that for most people, with practice, with the right practice and with right guidance, for most people, if they dedicate themselves to it, with the practice of meditation, then they would do it, basically. So well, not they would do it, but it would happen to them, right? So which of course would then bring another question of, will they actually, I mean, if you don't want to do it, then you will just not adopt practice of meditation, which is also true. But I think that what you're saying is somewhat different. I think that what you're saying, that there are some people for whom it will just happen out of the blue, and then there are some people for whom it will never happen regardless of the practice. I think that's a pretty extremist view. That I think that there are some people for whom it will happen out of the blue, regardless of the practice, and then there are some people for whom it will not happen, regardless of the practice. But those people are probably the outliers. I think that most of us are somewhere in between, meaning that, kind of, as someone said, meditation doesn't cause enlightenment, but it makes you enlightenment prone, and things like that. So that's on one side of the spectrum, like how much practice do you need? Or Osho said one time, if a person isn't ready, 1,000 Buddhists wouldn't help him. That's the other side of the spectrum. I mean, both of those are true, but most of us are somewhere in between. So for most of us, practice, I believe, will certainly be beneficial and will certainly bring us close to self-realization, and will certainly kind of enhance our lives. Of course, I mean, unless, of course, you get to the dark night of the soul moment when it will kind of, your life may become a nightmare for a while. But then, if you continue practice, then it's good. It means you're on your way. So it's actually good. Okay, so no, I don't think that it's as sort of set in stone. I mean, again, right, it depends on the perspective. You can say from the ultimate perspective, everything is set in stone, and whether you will practice or not, it's also set in stone. But what, I mean, does it mean that you don't have to do anything? So, as I was listening to Rupert Spira's video once, and he said, well, if it feels like you need to make an effort, make an effort. Yeah, and he was right. So it's not that, spirituality, it's oftentimes not following the specific instructions, but following specific instructions that feel kind of most scary and uncomfortable to you, even though if you look at the situation rationally, there's nothing to be scared about. So meditation is a good example, right? It should be very natural for us to just lie and do nothing for extended period of times. Pretty much every animal can do that, but we can't. So it's even when we happy, I mean, not happy, but like when we fed and warm and just we can't. So to say that a practice like meditation would not help a person, I wouldn't go that far. I actually think that practicing meditation is beneficial on any stage of the spiritual path, and for the dreaming minds, for every mind, it is a beneficial practice. So I'm very much for the mindfulness to the masses. Okay, How to Win the Game of Life says, I have had many satori yet. These enlightenment experiences seems to fade. That's true. When I forget myself, I'm free. Yes. Is it the act of grace, the final dissolution of ego dissolves? Yes, I think that what you mean by the final dissolution of ego is the moment of abiding awareness, where you forget yourself. By self, I think you mean ego. So when you forget the ego and you don't fade, you sort of you know what you are, awareness, and you don't forget it. So yes, if this is what you mean by the dissolution of the ego, that's what I call disidentification with the ego. It is final in a way that kind of, yes, I mean, again, I cannot predict the future, but but it is final in a way that it doesn't come back, and you sort of you never lose it. This identification, there is, I mean, practically speaking, so there is a moment on the path when it's like you kind of know that you won't lose it, and you may lose it in some experiences or in sleep, but during the day it's always there. So when does that happen? This kind of moment of abiding awareness, is this an act of grace? Yes, generally, yes. You cannot predict it. Actually, trying to predict it and trying to cause it is counterproductive, because the way that the mind tries to predict and cause it is, so the mind tries to imagine the experience and then kind of have it, right? But this isn't an experience that can be imagined by the mind, because it's not imagination, it's reality, it's the opposite of it. So no amount of imagining something or trying to, or like remembering how it was, uh, will bring it back. So that's why it's not possible to predict when it happens, and all you can do is to focus on the present experience. So if the present experience, there's some discontent, there's some yearning, imagining, uh, being displeased with something, then you focus on being comfortable with that. You focus on staying with that. You focus on feeling things without avoiding. And those moments, those shifts, they happen, and they happen unexpectedly. They by definition, they must happen unexpectedly to that which is being forgotten, right? So it's important not to think that something must be done to bring it about again. So yeah, it is an act of grace. You're absolutely right. Ivo, would the realization that I, as a psychological self, never existed, get rid of the identification with suffering? For most people, it seems to, yes. So kind of that's what, like most people in non-duality, they say, there is no me, there is no doer, I don't suffering, but I don't suffer. Like emotions happen, but I don't suffer. That's what they mean. So they sort of they could even go say suffering happens. So they could even go as far as to say there's no suffering, just emotions happen, and like experiences happen, some pleasant, some unpleasant, but there is no suffering. So yes, so they sort of disidentify with the sufferer. Suffering still happens, right? But since the disidentification is very strong and feels impersonal, then they say they don't suffer. Yes, so that's in truth, it's not the end of suffering, no, but it just gives you like a much better vantage point to actually experience more of it, because it becomes more impersonal. So it's easier to kind of go through it. You don't get lost in it as much, and it's just easier because you have a different vantage point, which is sort of always there, and it never suffers, like the consciousness. So yeah, is that the same as saying there is no more suffering? Well, yeah, I hope I covered that. Yeah, I think I covered this question. Yeah, so if you say that there's like no one to suffer, usually suffering is still present. It's just that there is no one. It feels like that it's not you that suffers. Just like with everything, it feels like in the non-duality, it feels like it's not you that is seeing. Seeing just happens. Hearing just happens. Words just, experiences just happen. They arise and fall. And the same applies to suffering. And at this point, it's very common to think, okay, there's no suffering at all, because it's just it brings such a massive release, because it is also apparent that everything that arises and falls in consciousness is impermanent, right? Suffering always seems permanent. When we suffer, we think it's always going to be this way. If we could only remember that it's temporary, we could have relaxed more. But it's this delusion, this fear that it's never going to end, is also what propels people to commit suicide and things like that. So that's always a delusion. Okay, Megan says, can we talk after? Oh, sorry. Yes. Ellie says, any advice for someone who feels like they're quite literally insane, depraved, feels like their life is over, nothing to offer anymore? Pretty much me right now. Just a stage of the journey. Yes, my love, is just a stage of the journey. That is totally okay. You are not insane, depraved, and things like that. Ego is insane, depraved. It's okay. It's all right. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. So what happens is just you having a thought that you're depraved, insane, crazy, and then there's an associated emotional experience. It is difficult for you to have this thought. So don't pay attention to whether the thought is true or not. You see, like there's a part of you maybe that is quite literally insane, depraved, and whatever. But I assure you, I guarantee you, that's not all of you. Trust me. Like you are absolutely capable of being rational, of taking care of yourself, and taking care of other people. You're alive, and I'm pretty sure you're a live adult. You're very functional. So, so don't worry about. It just it feels true, and then there's some sort of desperation, some sort of anguish in inside of you, right? So this don't literally believe these words. These words that are the thoughts, that are the thoughts in your consciousness. These words accompany the sensation, right? And it's that sensation, that desperation, the yearning, the kind of oh, I'm so bad or whatever, no one will love me, whatever it is. Those are just thoughts also that could accompany the sensation that I'm trying to point to. So this sensation is something that you experience, and you don't actually control whether you experience or not. So all that is required from you is to give yourself understanding and compassion, because if you chose to not experience it anymore, then you would have. And you know what? Believe me, if you didn't experience this anymore, you wouldn't even mind the words that your mind is telling you. Oh, you're depraved and insane. Who cares? If you feel totally comfortable, if you don't care about, you telling yourself how bad you are, then you wouldn't even mind. So you think the problem is words, but the problem is not words. The problem is the kind of how difficult it is for you to stay with this sensation that I'm trying to point to. So the words absolutely aren't true. No one is completely deprived. No one is completely insane. I mean, it's the kind of it is the black and white thinking which is induced or coupled with, connected with what seems to be an unbearable experience. But this experience is not unbearable. Lie down, close your eyes, and scan it, explore it. You can be present with it. It's just a kind of your it's all of those years you've been told by many people and by yourself that all the things that is wrong with you, right? And that is just the pain that is crying to be felt. That's all this. You're not depraved, insane. No one is completely depraved. You're talking to me. You're capable of doing that. It's just self-blame, and it's an internalized pain, the internalized self-hatred. That's all it is. Just feel it. You don't act on it. It's not informative. It's not true. So it is just a stage. Yes. Just extend to yourself. Extend to yourself this love and compassion. It's not easy to be in your shoes right now, but to practice. Accept those sensations, accept those feelings, and also, if it helps, you can also rationally challenge those thoughts. So I know that during the experience, it's probably very difficult, but remember. But just remember, those moments. So probably during the peak, like during the intensity of this experience, you probably don't remember anything. But just this conversation with me, maybe next time you have those intense moments, maybe you will remember that. Hey, look, it's not just thoughts. Let's feel this. Let's explore my body. Where is this pain, right? Or maybe there will be a thought like, oh, hey, look, is this thing really true? Let's look at it, right? So the key is just to remember to notice, oh, there's this process again. I am like talking to myself, telling myself that I'm insane, depraved, whatever. Where does it hurt? Is it really true? So kind of notice this moments of self blame, and switch your attention to the pain. That's the movement of love. So I did the best I could, just based on this. I don't know you, so if you would like to kind of explore this deeper, we can have a phone conversation, and maybe I misinterpreted something you said. So I hope it was helpful for you. So hang in there, hang in there. It's gonna be okay. It will. Okay, and before I will put on Meghana again online before I leave. It's been already an hour and a half. Okay, Meghana, yes, you wanted to talk about something else before we wrap up.
Yeah. Okay. When I started this realization that it's not even a week, I guess. It's like this whole thing hit me. It was appalling. Um, it's like everything I've ever faced, ever experienced is an illusion. So now that I know it is an illusion and I want to go somewhere else, somewhere a more aware place, this journey, I don't know how long it takes. It can be 10 years, it can be 1 year, it can be tomorrow. I don't know.
It can be
But,
it can be a lifelong journey. Yes,
okay, you're scaring me.
it can be. Yeah, if you believe in reincarnation, it can be thousands of lives.
Oh, I don't want to.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it can be a very long journey. Like
Yeah, so
if you're looking for, okay, I just need to find something, press it, and this journey will you will find the destination. Well,
so I was thinking that. So I don't know how long it's going to take. But meanwhile, this journey, it's it's a balance, right? I have a job. I have my mother to take care of. I'm still very young. I'm 24. I have so many desires. I need to do so many things. I need to achieve so many things. So now it's like there's no point, but I still want to do it.
well,
Where
the
do I
point is
find
that
this
hold on.
balance?
What do you mean there is no point? Like the point. Yeah, okay. I understand you. I'm sorry. I understand what you were trying to say. But there's no point. But I still want to do it. Well, I still want to do it. Is the point?
Yeah, but why do I want to do it? Has
Because you want to. That's what freedom is. You see, that's exactly what freedom is. You just you want to do things and you enjoy yourself doing it. You live your
yeah,
life the way you want to and you
but
enjoy it.
it's not just that. Sometimes I want to do things not just for the enjoyment of it, but for the other stuff that comes with it.
Ah, I see.
That is where the trick is. How do I lose the
Yes.
other stuff and just stick to enjoyment?
Yes. That's yes. I see. I see. So it can be very very difficult to discern. But generally speaking, one advice that I can give is: would you still do it if nobody knew about it?
A few things, yes. See, I'm an artist. I mean, I am a theater actor. I love to do, I enjoy the process of it. But come on, there must be audience.
Well, yes, I understand. So with of course, right? Or it's just like what I'm doing. Yeah, I have to have an audience, right? So I have to. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So there are some things, but I'm talking about something else. Like I don't know
Uh-huh.
how to.
Like
Uh,
telling my the people I
mhm.
know that I'm acting.
Well, like what is important for you? The process, the sense, like for example, if you're an artist, then the process of your audience satisfaction. So what is more important for you? To
No,
bring
it's
joy and
how
love.
I feel, how I perform on stage, and how I'm feeling at that point of time. In the character. That is what more important. In fact, I don't even know. Like I can't even see a person in front of me. I'm not doing it
Okay.
for them. I'm doing it for me.
Okay, well, I mean that in that case, it seems like it's not one of those. Yes, well, I wanted to come up with somewhat different example, because you were saying about your relationship with yourself, but I was, you can look at it also from the relationship with your audience. So what is important to you? If you're an artist and you have a certain relationship with your audience, so your audience appreciate your work, it probably brings them some joy, whatever it is, right? So what's important for you? The joy that they are receiving, or the joy that you will receive when you praised for it? What
Oh,
is the
okay.
source of your joy? Is the source of your joy just them receiving joy, or the source of your joy is them telling you that you did good?
It's a combination of both. It's like
Yes,
I want
it's
them
always
to
a
enjoy
combination.
it, and it's nice if I know that they enjoyed it.
Yes, exactly. So it's always a combination of those. So this other part is the egoic gratification mechanism. But the first part is your true, pure heart expressing yourself for the joy of other people. You see? So it's just like with our conversation with Corey. He said, I want to go and help those kids that didn't have a mentor. Like, so what is important for him? The satisfaction of helping those kids and to know that he helped those kids, or you can post it on Facebook, or boast with some other friends, to some friends, or to get a recognition. So if nobody knew that he was helping these kids, would he still be interested in doing that? If no one knew, if it was just a side thing, he wouldn't talk about this on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and right? Would you still be interested in doing that?
Yes.
So that's one of the ways to differentiate. So when it's not as important, right? So it's not as important to try to differentiate when the experience is happening. Like when somebody praises you, don't be like, oh, that's ego again. I shouldn't take pleasure in that. That's okay. I take pleasure in that. It's undeniable. It's what's happening. Take pleasure in that. It's also part of the experience, right? But when you think about your motivations, when you navigate, when you try to navigate, right? Those motives are very short lasting. Like somebody gave you praise, and 1 minute from now, that's it, right? But what you do, if it comes from your heart, if it brings you joy, if you do it because it brings you satisfaction, it's fun for you, it's lasting. You see, that comes from you. So you will make mistakes on this path of doing things that you think comes from you, but really they come from other people. And it comes from you only in form of, okay, I just wanted approval. You will, right? But it's okay. But the deeper you are connected to your intuition, the deeper you're connected to the truth of you, the less of these mistakes you make, and the more free flowing and pleasant your life becomes. Which doesn't mean that some people won't dislike you or you won't have any enemies. Actually, well, that's a part of it. But can't be yourself while trying to at the same time satisfy everybody else.
Yeah. Along with the praises come criticisms, right? And
Yes.
the way
Yes.
I take praises, it's, see, even I'm praised for the next minute, it's gone, but it's there in my head. The next
Yes.
time I perform, I like, okay, I got this praise. This time I'll do better. I don't know if they're going to praise me again, but I remember that.
And that doesn't
But
go
this is-
anywhere. You can't
Yeah.
it doesn't go. It robs you of all the satisfaction. If you always must do better, if you're always on some sort of a treadmill, if you're never satisfied, it robs you of all the joy of life. You see?
Yes. Yes. But if I was satisfied, let's say 10 days ago, if I was satisfied where I was in my life, I wouldn't have thought about this, right? About all this.
Well, okay, but you would need to probably. You only
Uh,
hear because you only hear. You understand? You only hear because you're not satisfied with your life.
yes.
Why else would you be here? See, so it's okay. It's okay to strive to be better. The problem is, does it come from you wanting to be better? Does it come from your love of the craft, or does it come from your attachment to praise and fear of criticism? So because your attachment to praise, because if you want to do better, because it's your own mastery, you take pleasure in mastering a skill, right? Or you want to do better because next time somebody will say something good and you'll feel good, or last time somebody criticized you and you don't want to be criticized. Well, criticism is an important part of acquiring a skill. If you're really interested in becoming better yourself, then you want criticism. You see, those two uh, motives are oftentimes contradictory, because the motive of the ego is always, oh, be safe, feel nice, be safe, feel nice. It's contradictory to the motive of I want to feel better. If it's authentic, you see, if it's authentically better, then it's also a problem. It's not help. You see.
So, right now I'm in a good paying job, but this was not my first choice. In fact, the only reason I made this choice was money, because of so many personal things. I can't. I know it's not completely authentic of me, but I do enjoy many the main things of this job. I'm an engineer, so problem solving. I like to do that. But as a career option, no, this was not my first choice. But art is not, you know, I can't earn enough. At least not the way I'm earning
Well,
now.
sure. I mean, it's also a choice. You see, there's a choice, but money is also a choice,
And
right?
sometimes even when my theater they want to pay me, I say no, I don't want money. I'm not doing this for money. I really don't want I've left payments.
So
Even
yeah,
when I was a student, I left payments. I'm not
yeah.
doing this for money. I don't even want your convenience fee. I'm coming to this for my own joy. I'll do it. I did it for free. I still do it for free. I always do it for free.
Okay, but you also need
But
some money to eat, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so kind of it's quite easy to sustain yourself, actually, right? But between kind of, depending on what kind of lifestyle you want, it's also a choice. So the thing is, you are basically free to craft your life the way you want, given the circumstances. We don't choose the circumstances, we choose our actions, right? So you can choose to uh, to work a career which isn't like as satisfying, but have a more satisfying home, for example, if you want to build it with more money. Or you can choose to have a career which is supremely satisfying, but leaves you struggling for money, and you won't mind it too much, you see. But it's a choice that you make, and it has to be yours, right? And but there's no such place as an ideal situation. It's never is. There's just a choice. You can change something, and but if it's like, if you what the mistake that we make is that we try to change something in the future for about how we feel right now. You see, like, if I want to live in a better house, I can go get a job, earn more money, try to get a better house. But let's say I'm thinking about this and I'm angry with myself, think, what kind of a loser, like my other friends live in good houses, and I feel like shit about, buying a better house is not a solution for that. That is happening right now. So right now you are berating yourself, like comparing to yourself, like, you see, it's a problem. The problem is the attitude. The problem is that the lack of love and comparisons and self-blame, and that is what one needs to look at. That what one needs to deal with, because in a situation like this, you will buy a better house, but then you'll find something else to berate yourself about, you see. So that's our mistake, not doing stuff. So it's okay to do things. It's okay to change careers, to try something. It's okay to be active in the world. It's just that, like, our direction should be not away from this momentary displeasure. And sometimes we build elaborate schemes to not feel, so it's not about what you do, even. It's about what you do it for. To hide or to express, to feel, to love, to create, or to run away, to not open up, to not disturb anything, or to not be bothered. So those are kind of the two polar opposites. You can approach life very differently.
How is it with you? Like, it's a personal question. See, right now in the Discord group, we are like some 500 people. So tomorrow it could be 5,000, then it could be 500,000. Right now everything is for free, even the satsang, it's all for free. So eventually, would you charge for it? Like, how is that with you? Like, I realize
I would if I
somewhere you said you're living off your savings.
I would if I needed to. I don't need to.
Yeah, would you be similarly accessible like that, or it's gonna be?
I frankly don't consider myself very accessible, because I'm also very lazy, and I'm kind of doing these things every week, and like from time to time I appear on Discord. How accessible I am depends on how much time I invest into this. I actually have like several messages on my Discord or on WhatsApp which I haven't responded to yet, and I've been planning to. So I have some people that have been waiting that want to speak to me. So I don't think of myself as very accessible, actually. I try to be, but it's my laziness. I just have enough money to not care about it for now. So I don't care about charging people. So. Okay, listen, it's been almost 2 hours. It's probably the longest video. I shouldn't make such long videos in the future. So let's talk some other time. Let's talk next weekend. It's just that 2-hour YouTube video, people look at it and it's like, oh, this is too scary. I don't even know. Not scary, but like long and boring. We lost almost all our audience right now. It's like 6 people already just watching. Only 6. Yeah, it was up to 20. 5. Okay, bye. We have to wrap
thank you so much.
This has been too long. It would be a real disgrace if like this counter went down to 0 and we would be still talking.
It's okay. I would stay till the last because I started in the first. You'll have one for sure.
Sharon says goodbye, long and boring. Yes, okay, long and boring.
The last thing you wanted to hear right now.
Okay. Bye, Megan.
Bye. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye, Melly. Yes. Bye, guys.